Who really are the Zoldyks? The famous family of assassins, those who arrived showing who they are in the world of Hunter x Hunter and their powers that rival the great Nen users from all over the world. Members who went to the Dark Continent, fought against Netero at his peak, and still remain in the story to this day. The movie about these assassins gains even more life with the recent setting in the Hunter universe. Want to know more about this topic? Then go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell. There are families that carry surnames, and there are families that carry legacies. Among all the bloodlines scattered across the corners of the Hunter x Hunter world, none evokes more fear, fascination, and mystery than the Zoldyks. Their name is not just known, it is feared. Wherever there is someone powerful enough to be paid for a life, the Zoldyks are there. And wherever their name is whispered, even silence seems to tremble. Imagining them in a movie portraying their origins and the early days of the family would be an opportunity to finally unravel the essence of what made this lineage the deadliest of all. Long before Killua challenged his own limits and questioned the paths of blood, there existed a structure, a slow and meticulous construction that generated assassins, cultivated brutality, and built walls to separate the ordinary world from the horror that flourished in the mountains of Kukuru. The origins of the Zoldyck family are as dark as they are mysterious. There are sparse records of their existence dating back centuries when a single name began to circulate among heads of state, dictators, and warlords: Zig Zoldyck. This name is briefly mentioned in historical notes, but rumors point to him as the founding ancestor, the first to consolidate the name as a mark of death. Zig was not just any warrior, he was a hunter of secrets and an exterminator of ideologies. His presence was a sign that something or someone would disappear from the world without a trace. It is believed that he took part in one of the first expeditions to the Dark Continent, which would explain not only the immense power he possessed, but also the emergence of abilities that go beyond the common concept of Nen. From him, the clan slowly expanded, with each generation inheriting not only techniques, but also relentless convictions. Strength is the only value, and weakness the only unacceptable flaw. A movie about the Zoldyck family in its early days would allow viewers to witness the first steps of what would become an empire of blood. One could imagine Zig returning from inhospitable and forbidden lands, bringing with him not only physical scars, but secrets that changed his view of the world. Perhaps he found something beyond human comprehension, something that convinced him that humanity needed to be redirected. And it is from that moment that he decides to isolate his lineage, creating a legacy that would develop apart from society, governed by its own morality. The following generations continued to refine this ideal. The establishment of the Zoldyck estate, located high atop Kukuru Mountain, was not just strategic, it was symbolic. A place of difficult access, surrounded by natural dangers and guarded by a series of defenses as brutal as the members of the family themselves. A wall surrounding a vast land, fierce animals raised as guard dogs, and loyal servants like Gotu and the butlers, trained from childhood to serve and die for their masters. Everything there exuded absolute control. It was a voluntary prison for assassins who could not mix with the world, but who could manipulate it from the shadows. The movie would then advance to show Silva's immediate predecessors, the current patriarch. Although we don't have all the names, it is possible to deduce by the way power and teachings are passed down in the family that each generation faced and surpassed the previous one in brutality and technique. Grandfathers who trained their children with whippings and simulated executions, mothers who taught their children to poison toys, siblings who killed each other in secret rituals to demonstrate superiority. Nothing in the Zoldyck family was given, everything was earned through pain. This past, portrayed in a cinematic narrative, would serve to contextualize how a young Silva was formed, absorbing the coldness of his ancestors and at the same time being molded to surpass them. Silva Zoldyck, the current known patriarch, represents a rare combination of methodical brutality and a certain strategic understanding of society. He is one of the rare Zoldycks who doesn't completely isolate himself from the world. On the contrary, he understands the games of power and how the family can benefit from them. Married to Kikyo, a woman obsessed with tradition and with keeping the bloodline pure, Silva had 5 children: Illumi, Miluki, Killua, Aluka, and Kaluto. Each of them is, in their own way, a reflection of a facet of this legacy of horror. A fascinating point to be explored in the film would be the upbringing of the children by Kikyo, a mother who did not seek love or protection, but efficiency and loyalty to the clan. Illumi, the firstborn, became the most faithful executor of the family's values. His presence is silent but oppressive. His black, empty eyes reveal no emotion, only objectives. He is the logical successor of the clan, the heir who does not question, who executes orders as if they were his own. On the other hand, Miluki represents the weight of the blood without the corresponding talent. Obese, reclusive, addicted to technology, he is a Zoldyck by right, but not by merit. Even so, even Miluki was trained to kill, albeit in a less refined manner. Kaluto, the youngest, appears later in the story, but already demonstrates frightening abilities and a dark maturity that reveal how the family molds its children from an early age for assassin perfection. But it is Alluka, perhaps, who represents the most critical point of the lineage. Born with something beyond human comprehension, she harbors within herself an entity called Nanika. The relationship between Alluka and Nanika is a mystery not yet fully revealed, but it is clear that the family tried to contain, exploit, and control this power. The way Silva and Kikyo treat Alluka shows how the Zoldycks do not hesitate to imprison or manipulate even their own children if it means power. The narrative of a movie that explores the past could show how the emergence of Alluka altered the family dynamics and created silent internal divisions, though repressed. The way Killua protects his sister and challenges the entire assassin structure of the Zoldycks, placing affection above function, is the spark that threatens to break centuries of tradition.
Killua is, indisputably, the most evident breaking point of the family. Since little, he showed himself to be an absolute prodigy, capable of killing with his bare hands and enduring physical torture as naturally as he breathes. But unlike his siblings, Killua developed a conscience. Perhaps due to Gon's influence, or perhaps because his absolute talent allowed him to look down on the structure imposed by the family and perceive its rottenness. In any case, Killua broke the cycle, and by doing so, he became not only a traitor in the eyes of his parents, but a new kind of Zoldyck, one who still carries deadly skills but chooses how and for whom he will fight. A movie centered on the Zoldyck family in the past would have the chance to show how it all began. From Zig and his supposed connection to the Dark Continent, to the emergence of the estate in Kukuru, the first assassination contracts, the children raised as tools, and the value system that prioritizes efficiency, silence, and emotional control. We could see how Silva learned from his father, who remains a mystery to this day, how Kikyo was chosen for the role of wife and mother, not out of love, but for competence and genetics, and how the birth of each child was part of an almost ritualistic genetic plan. And even though each Zoldyck generation produced assassins, none managed to escape emotional decay. There is a rooted coldness in the clan that prevents any form of true affection. Even when Illumi shows some concern for Killua, there is always a hidden interest, a camouflaged manipulation. And this inability to connect humanly may be the real price they pay for so much power. Beyond the immediate family, the movie could also explore the ties of subservience and domination of the Zoldycks over their servants. The butlers, like Goto and Canary, are perfect examples of how terror can coexist with loyalty. Servants trained to die smiling, to protect the children of the house, even if they treat them like objects. Loyalty to the family is not earned with charisma, it is imposed with fear and conditioning. The movie, by diving into these layers, would reveal that the Zoldyck's power does not reside only in the individual strength of its members, but in the system they built around themselves. It is impossible to talk about the Zoldyck family without also mentioning their reputation in the underworld. Governments, mobsters, and secret organizations know that hiring a Zoldyck is to guarantee that a target dies, no matter how protected they are. The precision of their executions, the absence of traces, the impenetrable coldness, all of this has turned the family name into a synonym of inevitable death. And a movie set in the past would show how that reputation was built, contract by contract, corpse by corpse. Perhaps it would have as its main arc one of the first large-scale contracts, something that put the family's anonymity at risk and forced them to isolate even further. Seeing the Zoldycks facing other assassins, challenging rival clans, or even fighting against professional hunters from the past would bring dramatic intensity to the narrative. It would be possible to explore the tension between respecting the legacy and surpassing it, between carrying out orders and questioning whether death is the only possible inheritance. The narrative, although centered on horror and blood, could also explore the psychology of the Zoldycks. What does a boy raised to kill feel? What does a child who has never heard a word of affection dream of? It is possible that the Zoldyck legacy has been, from the beginning, a curse disguised as glory, a burden passed from generation to generation as if death were the only language they understand. At some point in history, possibly one of the ancestors tried to break this cycle and failed. The movie could show this as an echo of what Killua represents today, the boldest and most dangerous attempt to escape one's own blood. Thus, the movie about the Zoldyck family's past would not be just a parade of well-choreographed murders, but an immersion into the abyss of a lineage that made death its craft and loneliness its inheritance. It would be the opportunity to understand why this clan survived when so many others disappeared, and why, even in a world populated by hunters, kings, monsters, and supernatural entities, the Zoldycks remain the most feared. Because in the end, more terrifying than a powerful weapon is the one born with an anesthetized heart, who kills without hate and smiles in the face of pain.
That is what the Zoldyck family represents, and that is why their legacy, as dark as it may be, will never be forgotten. If there is one thing the movie would show with disturbing clarity, it is that there is no easy escape from blood. But sometimes, as in the case of Killua, even the darkest roots can sprout a new flower, not to deny the past, but to rewrite the future.